Okay, so this video won't be too long, but sort of to finish off the 12 days, I thought I'd do a little behind the scenes video, which is what I was going to fucking do, except I really should fix up this fucking prop mic at some point, or this fucking camera at some point, which is what I would do at some point, or I would do, but yeah, apparently all of the AI audio has been freaking distorted. Uh, this is actually a pretty big fucking issue going forward. I'm gonna have to. I'm. Fuck. I really hope that's just this video. Because this adds a massive issue going forward. If the. Which, well, I mean, granted, like, I could just add it back in. But yeah, it doesn't pop up. Thankfully for the video, it actually did. I kind of want to talk a little bit about what happened, how this happened. I mentioned it briefly, but I'm going to spend a little more time talking about it and showing you physically what would have, like, how things work if you've never edited on this program before. So, I use DaVinci, Black. If you watched any of the behind the scenes videos before, you would have seen me use this one or seen this before. I think we had one for the other side video. I'm not too sure on that one. Yeah, I currently work with 4 to 5 layers at the top because I think there is a way to keep them on the same plane, but it is very difficult to do so if you are trying to put multiple characters in there. This, as tedious as this might look, because let me back out a little bit here. There are a lot of moving parts in there. If you actually end up watching the video, you might have noticed the characters move around quite a bit. I have to deliberately listen to the audio and add and move those character pictures into it. Because unfortunately, for better, yeah, really freaking weird. I wonder why. But no, because the way I do is I commission Yuhin obviously, and Yuhin gives me pictures to work with. That being said, you might have noticed that some of the actual there wasn't too much character movement, or there was like off ones like this one. That's because originally, because I wasn't sure if Newman was gonna have more free time to do shit, I commissioned these things a little bit more in advance. I knew there were a few more. I knew there were a few more like facial poses I wanted for the characters, just in case. I tried to like throw a wide casting net to get as much as possible. Because you might have noticed that, well, if you watch the video, that this character, Fax over here, Newman still calls it 2B because, of course, he does, had a lot more facial animations and movements. That was because she was a lot easier to work with. I kind of had an idea of what she was going to be doing throughout the video. Unfortunately, originally, the green-haired girl Source, which we're going to call now that is Source, originally was not going to be talking. It wasn't until I think the day of the video, because I made this all in one day, by the way. Like this all took 8 hours, which is why the scans weren't in the video. And thank God I decided against subtitles moving forward, because fuck me. So I knew subtitling made the other side video so much longer. I didn't realize how much of a pain in the ass it actually was until I made a video without the subtitles in it. Because this was a lot of fun. As much as this looks tedious, and to be clear, I started like at 10 a.m. and ended like at fucking 7 p.m. There were definitely some sections where you could see that like there's a little more movement involved than others. Going forward, I'm gonna have to write the script out first and then commission the pictures, which is actually a problem I have with my actual books as well when it comes to some of the artwork Newhan gives me. Like Newhan always gives me good artwork, but sometimes I commission artwork and it doesn't really make it into the final cut. Always kind of an issue. But so right off the bat, I had to listen to the audio. I had to edit a lot of audio to clarify as well. Like there are some breaks in here. You can see some white spots. Like don't worry about that. But for the most part, I had to listen to all of it and chop it up, which alone took like I want to say 3 hours is what it took, because I kind of try to do them side by side. Because again, I recorded it all the same day as well. This was all done just in a rapid bash to New Year's. On New Year's Eve, I woke up at 10 a.m. I got up at my bed at 11 a.m. I think. No, I think I was already up by 11. I think I got up like at 10:30, and then I just came over here to start working on it. I finished up the script, which the script actually was only about 10 of the 20 pages in. I had all the research done more or less, but because I was recording it all on the same day and I had to edit all of this in, I ended up cutting out a lot of the specific perks. Originally, there was going to be a plan to talk about every individual perk and what it does in a sort of rapid fire movement, which I thought would have been a lot better than what we ended up getting. It's just that, time constraints, and Pimp Demon really wanted it out by New Year's Eve, or New Year's and New Year's Eve, and I was like, all right, well, fuck it. I can just generalize it. And I think I did a good generalization, to be fair. I still haven't gone back and put all the sources in, but they're mainly from the Fallout Wiki. Because some of the information that I got was not present within that was in, Rock Analysis links. Because I was actually mistaken about where the nuke statement comes from. For context, if you haven't watched the video, I had to try and find the yieldage of the nuclear bombs. And I couldn't really find that outside or in the lore. Because most people... But by the time the Fallout games happen, the Great War, I think, is like 40 years old. I think 76 is the exception to the rule. But I believe every other Fallout game, the Great War is a distant memory. Yes and no. Because Raul remembers the Great War, and I think he's like 120. I think it's like 40 or 50 years that the Great War happened, and then the events of Fallout 1 through 4 happened. No. Well, actually, yes, it would be around 40 or 50 years, because Fallout 4 starts with the bombs dropping, you getting frozen, your baby being taken from you, and I think Sean is like an old man by the time you see him, so it might be longer than 50 or 60 years. Point is none of the actual games in lore have the yieldage for the nukes, which is kind of surprising, because in Fallout New Vegas, you actually do go to a still active nuclear silo with warheads in it, and they never tell you what the yieldage for the nukes are. Which is where, I looked it up on the wiki, and the wiki was like, well, according to the Fallout Survivors Wasteland Survival Guide, it's 250 to 700. I think it's 200 to 750 yieldage. I think it's not gigaton. I think it's gigaton. No. It's gigaton into megaton. Yeah, so they were gigatons. So that's where we got that number from, which I still need to post up there. But the wiki has a full transcript of the first guidebook, or the first sort of, Wasteland Survival Guide, which was a great help in this scenario. It was actually kind of interesting to see a complete transcript of something on a wiki. I don't think the DMC wiki has that, and I don't know how many other wikis have that access. I guess technically, I've seen a transcript like this before, but I've only seen transcripts for in-game dialogue, because, the MGR wiki has a transcript of all of the conversations with the MGR characters, which we had to go through for some research. But yeah, so getting back on topic there, the strength section was kind of interesting, because I always kind of suspected you could do crazy shit with unarmed, because this is an RPG. And it is incredibly difficult to scale RPGs in general, unless they have a lot of story and lore behind them. Which, unfortunately, New Vegas, while it does have story, it doesn't really have... I guess it doesn't really have a narrative, if that makes sense. There are stories in New Vegas, but there's no, concrete, this has to happen scenario, which I tried to cover. Again, I could have done a better job. Honestly, if I had more time, that video would have gone from... I think the video ended up being... how long did the video end up being? It ended up being 18, 19 minutes. Honestly, if I had more time and free reign, I think that video would have cracked 30 minutes on its own. Just going over the courier and going to more in-depth scenarios. Because originally there was also a plan to do every single mission and talk about all the things you would get from each mission, and then talk about the DLCs in more detail. Because we didn't even go over anything involving, I think it's not Honest Hearts, Dead Money. Oh, to be fair, Dead Money blows, but I think there are some actual decent scaling information bits in Dead Money. We barely mentioned Honest Hearts, only really a weapon from Honest Hearts, and I think Fax made a couple of references to Honest Hearts. We did talk about the Big MT, because it does have arguably the silliest but also biggest strength feat the courier can do, and mainly covered Lonesome Road because when it came to scaling, Lonesome Road kind of knocked the rest out of the park. Definitely more of a highball-y video for sure when it comes to the courier. Actually, I wouldn't really call it highball-y because I give you two scenarios. A more consistent scenario and then the batshit crazy scenario that does have evidence to support it. Because as silly as it is with the nuke scaling for durability, given he got shot in the head early on, he technically did survive nuclear bombs before getting shot in the head, because why I didn't talk about it in the video, the courier created the divide because he brought the detonator one day and the warheads blew up underneath him, cracking shattering the earth. I mean earth isn't like the ground, not like the whole planet. But the point is that he was already basically, he already withstood point blank nuclear bombs before, technically. It's just that it's a statement given by a guy who would have witnessed it. Because he actually, Ulysses actually does confirm he would have died had he not been saved by a wandering robot that healed him. Which we actually didn't get to cover Ulysses either. I told Pimp Demon at some point I might come back to New Vegas just to do another video going over the other characters. Because ideally how I'd like to do How Powerful's going forward is an overall of the game we're talking about. Like if we end up doing if I end up doing a How Powerful Hi-Fi Rush, I will be covering the villains to the best extent they can be, and I will be covering the protagonist as well, and his group to help him. That why I didn't cover Companions in New Vegas, because this was solely focused on the courier. It wasn't focused on New Vegas as a whole technically. If I had chosen to do New Vegas as the next game by myself, it would have been focused on all the characters. We would have gotten Legelanius, the Burned Man, Ulysses. I might have talked about House, but I don't think House has any actual versus scaling per se. Yeah, so we just we had some bum sections like these. I always like when I put the other versions in, because sometimes my voice kind of spikes around, and you guys can tell, if you watch my videos or if you watch on live streams, my voice will sometimes kind of octave up and down. And so when that happens in the videos at times, I'll have another Zim come in to make it seem like, it's a new version of Zim talking to himself. And I always have fun when these pop up. These are definitely some of the funner moments. If I had more time, they would have popped in more creatively. But, I was a little rushed for time. By the time I started the editing process, I want to... because I want to be clear, I finished the script and then recorded. Recording on its own took... I want to say 2.5 hours, because it took me an hour and a half to finish the script, and then it took me 2.5 hours to do the recording for audio, because it wasn't just the recording of my voice, which I had to do a couple of takes, and that sounds kind of weird because the audio is not perfect, and I don't intend for it to be perfect, but there are times where I am reading from the script and I slur over my words, happens, and so. After I got done with my audio, which I think my audio for this video took about an hour and a half, I want to say. Dude, I'm still kind of bummed out that the audio is kind of broken like that. Because if that happens going forward on bigger projects, I'm going to have to make a mental note of that to make sure I don't get screwed over in the future. You can tell I'm a bit tired right now. It's because I've been rushing around all day doing crap. I'm working today too, so there's that as well. Whew. Beyond that, though, no. Need to focus a little more topics. I was talking about the recording sessions. Yeah, so 2.5 hours overall to record, because I also have to work on the AI's voice. And the AI voice, it's always fine. Not perfect, but it's good enough for my purposes. Could have been better this time around. It's just that I didn't really have time to mess around with the tools or learn more about the tools. I think I'll be spending the rest of this month, because you have to buy a fucking month-to-month membership. God forbid, they just give you fucking a simple, 2-day program for 30 minutes or something. I'll probably be spending some time this month actually messing around with the program to see if I can make the audio sound more human going forward. Because there were actually new ways to do it. New ways to accentuate, not accentuate, but what's the term? Not accentuate. Emphasize specific vowels and syllables. So The Australian girl in particular, which I did model technically around some of Kyle's mannerisms. I don't think I got it right because I was so rushed, but make no mistake, that is meant to be mimicking Kyle. Unfortunately, I don't think I quite did it justice, but I'll get it right next time. I'll get it right next time. Yes. But yeah, no. So I gave that a shot. The Australian voice is actually a lot of fun. I was actually laughing to myself and like smiling half the time when this voice came on. The Fax voice is just great in general. You know, Fax is a robot. Sounds like a robot. I probably will if I do get more money in the future and I do get like a more higher paying job. I might actually look into paying for voice acting, but I don't know if I will. Because in case the script changes, it might be better just to keep the AIs for now. I don't really like. I'm not sure. The AIs aren't terrible. I think like an actual voice actor would do better, but like they're also more expensive. You know, kind of broke. We'll see what happens though. But yeah, no. Then afterwards we have fax join. We have some model changes. I think there is a way to do light animation in this where you can keynote it, and I'm gonna see if I can't spend some time this month keynoting to see if that works. Because if I can make the characters move around in real time with their images, that would be fucking sick. But yeah, no, because every time these characters move or change their avatar, I'm physically moving them through the sections. Actually, now that I think about it, if I really wanted to, I could do it frame by frame. And I could just animate it like that. I guess that's the same thing as a keynote, but I think there's a way to make it a little easier on me in this program. I'll have to double check. It's been a while since I've actually edited videos, and I haven't really gone too far out. Because if I actually had more time, I also would have probably learned how to do some gunshot sounds and some explosion sounds. And I probably would have commissioned you in like a couple of like avatars of my character being shot, or you know, having a bullet through the head, something like that effect. Which I think would have just been peak. There was also a consideration for the payoff of her having her armsy in, which I didn't really have time to, and Newhan also started getting a little like more busy near the end of December. Good for him, good for him. But like similar to the last RSI video, the way this video was supposed to end was with a little comic strip like last time, where it was gonna be the Ultralux burning, and it was gonna be like a sort of like a close up of Source sort of looking at it over, but sort of like kind of like I want to say kind of like in a chibi way. It was supposed to be more of like it was supposed to be silly, but also still kind of apparent. You know, the Ultralux was on fire. Or if not, it was gonna be just all three characters just watching the Ultralux burning from the distance. Maybe like I don't know, how about a nuclear bomb strike or something for a thematic effect. Point is, there was gonna be originally a payoff for that. Didn't end up happening. I still like it. I still thought it was funny to some extent, but I could have definitely worked a lot better with that. Definitely some improvements could have been made. Because I know you guys don't exactly find me hilarious, but I find myself pretty funny. So if no one's going to laugh at my jokes, I will. Yeah, from here on in, you notice that Fax has a lot of smaller snippets and sections. That smile. I didn't tell Newman this, but that might be, I think, one of my favorite facial smiles I think I've seen, just in general. That smile was peak. Yeah, no. Fax is a lot more fun to animate, but she also suffers from the fact that she needs more like things to work with. But she's usually the more fun character to work with. That's also partially because I kind of anticipated her being a little more antagonistic with the gun. Originally, it was going to be that she killed Ulysses because she hates humanity, but I decided against that because I also didn't really have time, and you know, you get the outfit anyways and his gun, so it's like, why bother? Her design did end up becoming a little more, I guess a little more masculine, a little more, I think is the right term there. Which is fine. The actual outfit came out great. It was supposed to be a reference to Ulysses, or not Ulysses, fucking hell. Oh, I'm gonna get so much shit from Pim Team if he ends up watching this later. Of the Birdman, but which was the intended Joshua Graham. Very popular character, by the way. Actually, Joshua Graham. There is an AI program for his voice, actually. Honestly, if I had more time, I might have considered a skit, but I don't know how that would have worked. I do need to go a little more out there, though, for these, because they are supposed to be a little fan fiction-y to some extent. because the characters are supposed to interact or be able to interact with the world around it. If I still have time by the end of the month and I still have like audio, like like if you knew it's free, I was thinking of trying an animatic sort of like video where it's like a couple of like sort of rough sketching pictures of like not direct animation, but like clearly segueing sections. I think more of a storyboard setup. I was thinking of trying like a little storyboard animation setup for this. I'm not sure if it'll happen, but we'll see. Now beyond the audio taking 2 hours, I had to then put all the audio in, and then I had to start the editing process, which took another 3 or 4 hours. And then once that was done, I realized that fuck me, I'm out of time. I don't know what to do. And I instantly hit up Mangler and I'm like, Mangler, give me New Vegas footage. Because Mangler, I think, had New Vegas at the time. Or if not, I know he likes playing New Vegas. Because we're actually watching Mangler eat people in the background. This is Mangler's sick as fuck play style. Never forget this, that Mangler apparently enjoys eating people for sport. You guys didn't watch the whole thing, by the way, because like there were moments after this was done, because Mangler ends up eating this guy. Actually, this guy right here, yeah, that guy he's trying to save, he ends up eating him. Wait, actually, no. Do you guys see that? Actually, you guys see that, don't you? Where does this end? Hang on. Some unconventional weapons, including power... No, you don't. Yeah, you don't see that part. No, yeah, because he doesn't free them. Yeah, no. Mangler, immediately after he rescues them, he pulls out a fucking switchblade and just starts killing all of them and then starts eating them immediately afterwards. And I'm just like, Mangler, what the fuck is wrong with you? Who hurt you, Mangler? Who hurt you? But yeah, no. So definitely Mangler came in clutch with that one. And beyond that, there was going to be some music in the background. Now, I'm going to give the original idea, and I'm going to tell you what probably would have happened. The original idea was I was going to get my brother to record some acoustic versions of the songs, and then, being the lyrical master that I am, I was going to actually cover the songs, or if not, like cover offer support to my brother, like quote unquote like backup vocals to my brother so he could cover it. But there were going to be covers of the songs in the radio to, accentuate the background. There was also going to be a more thematical like footage, not only of the areas, but it was going to be more like first person walking forward, because I actually noticed that Mangler was in third person. He wasn't in third person most of the time, but yeah, no, like it was gonna be like actually traveling the Mojave, like they were talking to each other. Again, if I had more time, I would have made this a lot more like cinematic, so to speak, but didn't really have that time. Regarding whether or not I would have actually sung the songs to put them on there is up in the air. I would have intended to. Well, I'm not sure if that would have happened. However, New Vegas does have in-game music that's not from the radio, but because I was so strapped for time, couldn't really manage that. So that's about it for now. That's all I can think of for just a behind-the-scenes video talking about this. Don't want to bore you guys too much. The behind-the-scenes is already longer than the actual video. So with that said, thank you guys for your time as always. Have a nice day. This is the end of the 12 days back-to-back, and I'll see you guys on the next streamer video. Take care, everybody.